host, the Witch of Lupin Hollow.
Good morning, modern witches. Welcome back to the Witch of Lupin Hollow YouTube channel. I'm Tanae Stewart, the Witch of Lupin Hollow, and I'll be your host today. Today we're talking about how to practice magic while doing the dishes. Now, that might sound a little silly, but the thing is that you really can practice magic in the most mundane of moments. When I was putting this video together, I was thinking about, what are the most mundane things that we all do every day? What are the moments that seem to be have the least possible potential for magic? And the thing that popped into my mind right away was doing the dishes, because it's personally the chore that I like the least. I think that, within any household, everybody has their thing that they just don't want to do, whether it's vacuuming or mopping the floor or cleaning the bathrooms or the shower or whatever. For me, I hate doing the dishes. Dishwasher is a non-negotiable in my house. But the thing is that regardless of how mundane the moment, regardless of how boring or irritating the task or chore at hand might be, there is always room for magic. There is always space to introduce an element of your spiritual practice. And I find that if you can introduce an element of magic and spirituality into those mundane moments that you aren't looking forward to, the tasks and activities and things that you're actually dreading, those are the things that when you do introduce magic, they suddenly become, a little bit less dreadful. They become a little bit, maybe not quite exciting, but a little bit more bearable, right? And it's not that, you're necessarily going to suddenly look forward to every single moment of your day, because let's be honest, there are always going to be things that we don't want to do, people we don't want to deal with. There's always going to be tasks that are just, they have to be done, but nobody wants to do them. And that's not going to change. But the thing is that, number one, you can always approach everything with an optimistic perspective. Just yesterday, my boyfriend and I were having a conversation about a book he's reading about the concept of Zen, which is something he's really interested in. And I had been being kind of down about just a situation that I was dealing with, and it really wasn't anything major, but I was just sort of out of sorts about it. I wasn't quite feeling myself about it. And I was saying, well, it'll work itself out. I know it will, but it's not quite feeling the way that I want it to. And he pulled out this book that he's reading, and he started reading to me from it. And it was talking about basically just, being optimistic, about having an optimistic outlook, and, believing that even the things you don't want to do, even the things that seem bad or that seem like a negative in your life, they usually have some kind of silver lining. There's some kind of positive outlook that you can have on them. And he was so right. It totally turned around what I was saying, what I was thinking about, and that, it really wasn't so bad, and I just needed to kind of look at it from a different perspective. And so I find that that's the thing that you kind of always have to do. You always have to look at the way that you're reacting, the way that you are dealing with something, whether it's, a big situation, a relationship issue, or, just a mundane task that you don't want to do, like doing the dishes. So the thing is that it's always about perspective. It's always about how you approach things. And, it's about how you want to participate with, your own reality. It's about how you want to manifest and shape the life that you want. Living and manifesting your most magical life and speaking your most authentic truth, it's a big thing, right? It's a big picture. And it comes from those tiny little steps of slowly changing your outlook, changing your perspective, and, taking kind of one step at a time to integrate your magical and mundane realities. And I think there's there's kind of nothing more integrated than practicing magic while doing the dishes. So let's get into it here. So my number one tip for literally practicing magic while doing the dishes is just to connect with the element of water. And from a bigger perspective, I think it's really about, the real tip here is to think about whatever element it is that you're interacting with. So in the case of doing the dishes, right, the element, of course, is water. You have your hands in the water, you're feeling the water rushing over your skin, and that's pretty powerful, and the same goes for just washing your hands, right? The thing is that a lot of times we interact with the elements and we get really kind of caught up and distracted from the fact that the elements are always around us and we interact with all of them on a regular basis. Some people say that, the body represents all of the elements. The blood is water and breath is air. You interact with the elements in metaphysical and physical ways all day, every day. And so if you can find sort of the mundane ways that you interact with the elements, that's going to be really powerful because you start to notice those things. You start to become aware of them. And then they become more and more, number one, powerful, and number two, just more present in your life. Our awareness of something is really what gives it its power. And so in terms of doing the dishes, the element, of course, is water, and you have this moment to clear your head and connect with that element. You're not doing anything else. You can't physically be multitasking while you're doing the dishes. Not really. You might be talking to someone or something like that, but you're pretty much focused on this one task. Your hands are tied up doing it. And so, you might as well take that opportunity to recognize that this is a moment you're interacting with the element of water and what the element of water does for you every day, and what it means to you, what it means to you spiritually. Give thanks to that element. Other examples would be, maybe you turn on the fan or turn on the heater and you feel the rush of air, and that, you can take that moment to acknowledge the air element. Maybe you light a candle or you light a fire in the fireplace and you can acknowledge the element of fire. Even if you don't have, literal fire around you, you can connect with your heart space. That can be an element of fire, as well as, like your solar plexus chakra, things like that can be, fire driven, your fiery internal energy. So there's lots of ways that we interact with all of the elements every day. Maybe you are gardening and you can connect with the element of earth, or maybe it's not even that literal. Maybe you're just chopping vegetables and you're making dinner, but those vegetables, or herbs or whatever you're working with, they came from the earth. And so you are, being nourished by the earth by eating them. So, the first tip is, in any mundane situation, look for the element that is present, because there's usually some element present, because pretty much, everything in our world is made up of one of the four elements. So look for the element, look for ways that you can take a moment to connect with that element in even the most mundane of moments. Okay, number two is really about taking time to clear your head, and, just not think about anything except the task at hand, or to, use that space to meditate. So in the case of doing the dishes, that's really a great moment to, put aside anything else, clear your head, not think about the task at hand, not think about your to-do list, not think about anything else you're responsible for, and just use that, very meditative action of, cleaning plates and glasses, to, let go, to release. It's a great moment for purification. You can really, take a deep breath, let it out, and then, sort of relax into that meditative space where you have, 4, 5, 10 minutes, to do nothing but just allow yourself to be aware of your breath, to be aware of the elements, to, connect with your higher self. Maybe your higher self isn't really all that familiar with doing the dishes, but it's a great moment for kind of your physical body to give way to your higher self and your mental self. And that goes for a lot of mundane tasks, right? Whether maybe you're doing the laundry or you're cleaning other things, maybe you're making the bed, whatever it is that you're doing, all of those little like household chores, you can easily make more magical just by, instead of, thinking about your to-do list or whatever it is that you might otherwise be worrying about or thinking about or obsessing about. Instead of that, use that time as sort of working meditation or, active meditation. We use those kinds of terms with yoga a lot, that yoga is sort of a moving meditation. And of course, it's easy to envision that with yoga because yoga is very spiritual in and of itself. But you can definitely apply those same principles to, much more mundane tasks. Okay, now the third tip is actually in terms of specifically doing the dishes. This tip is to try to incorporate, especially into those mundane tasks that you do dread the most, the things you really don't want to be doing, incorporate some literal elements of magic, maybe some ritual tools or something like that. In terms of the dishes, maybe you have some purifying herbs that you hang over the faucet in the sink, or that you make your own dish soap and incorporate them into that. Something that's really purifying is going to absorb any negativity as well as dirt. Of course, it needs to be physically purifying as well, though hopefully there's no dirt on your dishes, just food. But you can incorporate purifying herbs that are both going to purify literally and purify the energy of these items that really are very important, plates and dishes and glasses and silverware and all that sort of thing. That's what we use to nourish ourselves. It's carrying the food that we're going to consume. So those really, although the task of washing them is not very fun, it is really important. Try to incorporate some ritual tools in that way. Some other examples would be like, maybe if you're making the bed, you could, spritz the sheets with like lavender essential oil or a relaxing oil. Maybe you could, place crystals under the pillows. In terms of doing the dishes, you could place crystals along the edge of the sink as well. Get creative with it. Think about ways that you can incorporate your magical and ritual tools, the tools of your spiritual practice, into your mundane tasks. So we've gone over 3 different tips. So, number 1 is to try to find and connect with the elements in all mundane tasks. Find air, water, earth, fire, find them in the activities that you have to do, and use that as an opportunity to connect with those elements. Number 2, is to use those moments for moving meditation, to release worry, to release fear, to release dread about the things you don't want to be doing, and to use mundane moments as an opportunity for meditation, and to release and let go of things that aren't serving you. And then number 3 is to, try to incorporate some magical and ritual tools into your mundane activities. Make them literally magical. It'll make them more fun, it'll make them more engaging, and it'll make you feel connected to your spiritual practice, even when you don't necessarily have time for a full ritual. So that's been 3 ways to practice magic while doing the dishes or in other mundane moments. So make sure that you comment below. Tell me, what mundane moments are you struggling to make magical? What things are you just sort of dreading in your daily life? that you think has the potential to be integrated into your magical life and reality, and that maybe you need some help with, I'd be happy to brainstorm with you. And tell me if you try any of these particular tips and how they work for you. So comment below, make sure that you like the episode, subscribe to the channel, and sign up for notifications so that you can be notified every time I release a new episode. All right, I will see you next time.